This portion of Global News is brought to you by the Royal Canadian Mint. Hold on to Canadian bravery with this new $2 coin.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we shall remember them.
It's a simple concept. One student, one headstone, one poppy. It's understanding history and building a connection to the men and women who served in Canada's military. For the last 10 years, the No Stone Left Alone Foundation has had a mission to see a poppy placed on the headstone of every Canadian veteran while educating the next generation so the past is never forgotten. What is now a cross-Canada movement all began with one family's tradition and the poignant observation of a young girl.
She was a sergeant with the Canadian Women's Auxiliary Committee. She was very proud of her service.
Maureen Bianchini-Purvis has long had a deep connection to Remembrance Day, cemented at her mother's bedside when she was just 12 years old and made a promise.
She's told me that, Maureen, I am dying and I don't want you to cry. You'll be looked after by your dad and your brothers. I don't want you to worry about me, but I just really don't want you to forget me on Armistice Day. And I remember in my tears crying so hard laying on her chest, not understanding really what she was saying to me. But I very quickly, that first November, I made a point as that young girl to come out with that poppy and I put it down here where we are today.
It started as a simple act to honor her mother's legacy and grew to involve the entire family.
Our entire childhood, always, every Remembrance Day we would come here, and it was very natural but felt very profound and important from a young age.
And the family's commitment to remember sparked an idea.
I said, Mom, why is it just us? Why is it only our grandparents that have a poppy? Like, don't all these souls deserve to be recognized?
I also was noticing as a young mother then, in their assemblies in the gymnasium when I would go, I could see that the children were not retaining any statistics at all. The veteran that was trying to speak was just getting older and harder to hear, and I felt it being lost. I just knew it was really important to somehow bridge that gap, to sort of turn it around and present it in a different way, in a more authentic way that people could get involved.
That first year, it was a single field of honor, all those laid to rest at Beachmount Cemetery in Edmonton. They called it No Stone Left Alone.
The very first year when we came out just as a family, and we had one school, and we had met the young lieutenant colonel who said he would bring some of his members. And driving up and seeing those serving soldiers lined up at the rows and all the students alongside ready to place those poppies. I remember the sun was shining that day. It was a beautiful day and it was so heartwarming. I was just like, oh my gosh, these are people's sons and daughters, right? And there's many people that can't get to them, and this is a beautiful thing.
Veteran Mac Torrey remembers that first ceremony.
It started out with a phone call 10 years ago.
He's attended every one since.
We have a lot of men and women that have served their country, and really, once they're gone, nobody was paying attention to them. The Poppy Fund gave them some poppies. We like the idea, and it's just growing.
How this small family tradition has now gained international attention, and we'll show you the impact on students who have participated in ceremonies when we return.
No Stone Left Alone and ceremonies like this one exist to educate students and also to recognize our military in fields of honor right across the country. And we do that by laying a poppy where they've been laid to rest. And it began right here at Beechmount Cemetery.
They have put an enormous amount of effort into making this thing a national event.
It didn't start out that way, but from that very first year, the impact on students simply by placing a poppy and reading a veteran's name was evident.
It felt like I was taking part in something that was bigger than myself.
Every time you drive by the gravesite, you're going to remember laying down the poppy.
From the moment we did it, we knew we had something because the children, it was hands-on. They were looking at that headstone, they were looking at a name, they were looking to their right at the serving soldier that was standing next to them, and you could see the light go on. You could see that this is more meaningful.
Some of these people that were in this graveyard were only 18, but they died serving their country.
Each one of our participants are affected differently, and you see that in the reflection letters that we receive and the messages. They're all unique. So each one of these students are responding, and that's one of the most important things that we're hearing is the impact.
After students attend a No Stone Left Alone ceremony, they're asked to write a letter of reflection, and their emotions come through.
And I headed over to your headstone. Gently placed the poppy and prayed. Prayed a message of peace to you and a reminder of love that no one will forget your courage and determination. Please know Canada's nation is proud of your selflessness. We are all proud of you. I hope that you know you are loved. Lest we forget, sincerely, Paulina.
Thank you so much for serving our country, Canada. I am filled with thanks and blessings. No stone left alone. I will remember all who passed. When I laid a poppy on your stone, I said a prayer to you. I hope you heard me. You are so brave and strong, and we thank you so much for serving our country. I will remember you in my heart for as long as I can. As long as I live, there will not be one stone left alone. Sincerely, Amelia.
That's exactly what Bianchini Purvis wanted.
We had this emotional time, and the teachers would say to me, Maureen, the kids were so chatty on the bus on the way here and having to calm them down. But somehow when they get back on the bus, they're all reflective, they're all quiet, they're all respectful, and we should try to capture that emotion. So we said, okay, well then let's maybe just, in a simple letter, address it to me and tell me how you felt about that program. And right away we got reflection letters saying, I didn't know what Remembrance was. I thought Remembrance was a holiday at the mall. And then kids going, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I saw the serving soldier, and when he moved, I moved the same way. Like, they were so engaged.
Dear No Stone Left Alone, what is remembrance?
Emanuela Owusu was chosen to read her reflection letter at the 2018 No Stone Left Alone ceremony.
Remembrance is something that shouldn't happen one day of the year. It's something that should be done every day. That way, we can truly honor those who gave up their lives to make this country a better place. No Stone Left Alone was a foundation that I'm glad started.
2 years later, the experience is still with her.
I think before it was kind of just like, oh yeah, we're wearing a poppy and we're going to the Remembrance Day celebration, but No Stone Left Alone has made me think further. When I think remembrance, I think, oh, it's a time where I should be thankful and be appreciative for the people who have put their lives on the line, who have lost their lives, and who don't come home to their loved ones.
Guard attendance! Guard!
I think at the beginning, we just thought we would do Beechmount and our hearts would feel good.
But word soon spread, first across the city of Edmonton, then Alberta, and eventually across the country to places like Winnipeg and people like Peter Martin. He has spent countless hours speaking to children at schools about war and remembrance. He does it in honor of his father, who was just 19 years old when he landed on Juno Beach.
He made it his mission to come home to talk about remembrance to the students, and he did that for like 40 years because so many of his buddies who he landed with died on the beach. And they were screaming, and the feelings, the sounds, the noises. He said that this is terrible. I can't not go back and make sure people remember what I experienced and all those others experienced and those that died.
When Martin learned about the No Stone Left Alone program, he knew he had to bring it to his community. More than 500 grade 6 students have been taking part in the ceremony at the Transcona Cemetery for 5 years. He says having the kids there in person is an invaluable lesson.
We always talk about the soldiers who had to fight, but when you bring them here and you say, soldiers does not define who these people were.
This seemingly small act carries so much meaning. It creates a bridge from the service of our heroes of the past, present, and future to the next generation. And most importantly, the students who take part in the ceremony, they come face to face with stories of true bravery, of sacrifice, and that inspires them to take on the future, I think, with determination and courage.
Former Alberta Lieutenant Governor Lois Mitchell took part in several ceremonies as the movement was taking off across Canada.
I'm very, very proud of Maureen and Randall, and it's been incredible to watch the organization grow firsthand. The very first ceremony I attended, they had grown from 25 locations the year before to 83 when I was doing it in 2015, which I thought was amazing. So to know that now they are in 130 sites across the country, placing over 63,000 poppies, the impact that creates is immeasurable.
Most events, once they've done it once, they want to do it again. And it's not easy, you know, it's harder right now with COVID, but we have amazing, loyal and wonderful volunteers all across the country. The essence is still a child, a poppy, and a soldier. And a thank you, just to say thank you for your service.
In 2017, the first No Stone Left Alone ceremony was held in Krakow, Poland. Hundreds of school children gathered to lay poppies on the headstones of fallen soldiers, including 15 Canadians who died in the Second World War.
Row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly.
Nancy Campbell was vacationing in the country when a friend mentioned how locals continue to honor Canadian soldiers buried there. That conversation led her to connect with the No Stone Left Alone Foundation, and a year later, she was back in Krakow, laying poppies along with Polish school children.
To be able to be part of that and see it all come together was just amazing and surprisingly emotional. It was such a sense of pride and such a sense of just appreciation and just an overwhelming emotion that, you know, here are these kids who have no connection whatsoever to Canada, but it was so important to them to do this.
In the 3 years since that very first ceremony in Krakow, No Stone Left Alone has grown to include dozens of schools in Poland and hundreds of children who have laid over 20,000 poppies. Still to come, the COVID-19 pandemic forced this year's ceremonies to change, but all is not lost.
I went and got some material and I started doing it. And I did one, and a friend of mine came, she said, "Oh, this is beautiful." From then on.
You never stopped?
No.
These are handmade cards made by Micheline Gomez. The 91-year-old makes the cards in her spare time. It started out as a simple hobby to put a smile on people's faces. Gomez lived through the horrors of Nazi-occupied France. She is now donating her cards to No Stone Left Alone, and the stories she tells about the war are a moving reminder of why we need to remember.
My mom was gone, and the war started, and then all of a sudden, a huge truck came. It was huge, and it was loaded with soldiers and guns, and they stopped right in front of our house. My dad came and looked. He says, "What are they doing here? They're gonna kill us?" They came and grabbed my dad right away. I said, "We have no mother. We have no family whatsoever. No aunt, no grandparent. We have nobody. If you take my dad, we'd be orphan." So the big German boss, whatever you call them in those days, he came and then he took my dad and he threw him like on the floor, pushed him on the floor, and then they left. From then on, we live in fear all the time. We don't know if they're going to come back. I hope that in your life you never feel the fright that I did. I don't wish that on anybody because it's almost unreal.
Micheline now honors those memories by sharing her cards with veterans on Remembrance Day. It's her way of thanking Canadian soldiers for setting her homeland, France, free. Her handmade cards are also handed out to hundreds of volunteers that place the poppies on headstones each year.
Canada gave me a lot. I should say give us a lot. So you want to give back. And that for me, when I did my card and said to be given, when they open a card, they smile. That's very important to me. And you can't help but smile if you see a poppy.
This Remembrance Day is unlike any other. Because of restrictions on gatherings, Veterans Week did not see children pouring off school buses, crowding the fields of honor as they lay poppies. But at Beachmount Cemetery in Edmonton, where No Stone Left Alone began, the poppies have returned. A much smaller ceremony marked the Day of Remembrance this year, with fewer people in attendance and speakers joining virtually. It's what we've all grown accustomed to during the pandemic, but as Maureen Bianchini-Purvis will tell you, it's still important we take time to remember.
I want Canadians, and especially during this COVID time maybe, students can't be on the grounds, the awareness that it is in your neighborhood. If you go to your local cemetery, no matter where you live here in Canada, I'm sure you'll find a military headstone, and they're very identifiable. And maybe just have that reflective moment and leave your poppy there, right? Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Because our goal is to leave No Stone Left Alone. And there's a lot, and there's tiny cemeteries and big, massive field of honors. And we're just doing the best we can with those wonderful volunteers that have like-minded hearts, and to try to get it done.
That passion has seen the No Stone Left Alone movement expand from a single cemetery in Edmonton to now include hundreds of ceremonies across the country. And for the family who started it all goes back to the woman who inspired the project.
We would lay sometimes 10 poppies just on my grandmother's grave, and to see the empty field of gray surrounding it to now each year seeing a field of red is so impactful and beautiful, and knowing that something so simple has really hit home to so many people across Canada and across the world. It's inspiring, and yeah, we're so proud.
I think it's our family's legacy. We never got to meet our grandmother as she passed when our mother was 12. So knowing how important it was to her and how important it is to my mom, I think it's extremely important for us to take it seriously, and we want to be there. It's a beautiful thing. Why wouldn't we want to be involved?
My hope in the legacy for me is that these young kids will embrace this program, carry it, continue it, grow it, and be really proud of it, because it really has been bringing the youth out that has made the difference.
Well, they have, and the proof is in the reach of No Stone Left Alone across Canada and around the world, even in these unprecedented times. We leave you now with more from the hundreds of letters of reflection received by the Foundation each year. Thank you for watching.
Every time I close my eyes, I'm back in the cemetery. I close my eyes and remember that I was standing in a field full of souls that still remain. It isn't fair that they gave up their lives, skills, and selves in exchange for death, and for a long time, no one cared.
Dear fallen soldiers, I want to thank you for fighting for my freedom and the freedom of everyone here. As I stand by the tombstone of one of the tens of thousands of fallen men and women soldiers, I am filled with gratitude, for without your strength and courage, we would not be the well-educated and free children we are now.
They had families that needed to forget or have passed on. People say a lot of things like they will be honored and remembered when they're gone. But I didn't believe that was true until I attended my first No Stone Left Alone ceremony. There, the people really cared. People were thankful, almost as if these people were giving these souls a place and a voice in their hearts.
Today, tomorrow, and every day, may we remember and thank you for all your sacrifices and freedoms that you have given us. Lest we forget, sincerely, Izzy.
Each poppy that lays on a headstone is a symbol that even after these soldiers have passed, they didn't die in vain. They died so we could all have peace, and we should never forget that.
Albert Morgan.